Okay, so let's conclude the Maamar and review just the last ois, because the last ois that ever summarizes it for us. Summarizes meaning to say the Alter Rebbe's Maamar. So we'll just review the last ois. It's critical. Ois Dalet. So I'll just say it by heart, yeah? And then we'll do the last ois. So it comes out, again, from the Alter Rebbe, the summary is as follows. There are 3 general inyanim, but 4 specifically. Meaning, in general, so there's the Amshacha from above to below, that's Torah, that equals Yikara, that equals Kovid. These words that the Maamar invoked, the Maamar Chazal, Kabed es Avicha. Then there's, that's Milamayla Lamata, that's the Nina Beis is Milamata Lamayla. And in this, there's 2 dargis. This is the Kohen Gadol, Lifnai, and Lifnim. They're all connected to Bittul. They're all connected to Bittul, and as he teaches us later, we'll say it now so that it's clear. This is the Bittul first of Torah Shebal Peh, and then Torah Shebiksav. Bittul Hayesh and Bittul B'Mitzius. He doesn't use the word Bittul Hayesh yet. But this is all, since it's the Aliyah of the Yid, he's therefore tethered to his Mitzius to one degree or another. Melamata Lamayla. It's all connected to Bittul in various degrees. And he adds over here, even this level of Bittul, I'm sorry, I need to get this straight. No, finished, yeah. Good. Then there's 2 dargas within the Allah Milamata Lamayla. The first is Torah, the second is Avodah Milamata, as expressed by the Kohen Gadol. Then there's the 3rd level, Keser. There was a lot of detail here as it manifests, as Keser projects to become the source of Netzolim. We don't speak, that's Noira Sehilois. That's not the darga that we're talking now about. That's another detail in just the general understanding of Keser, but the source of it is Ukum Hukodam Ilas HaIlois. It's dark, complete and absolute Bittul, and not the Bittul Mitzad, the person's, the Avoid as it were, not because of Alim Lamata Lamayla, because that's the matzav there of godliness revealed, absolutely, and the Avodah, the translation of that, is Yiras Boishus, or Tshuva. So the translate this in Avodah, which he does now in the next ois. So there's Torah. So Chassidim, Anshei, Maaseh, Balitchuv. What are the 3 levels? So Chassidim and Anshei, Maaseh is Avodah. These are the 3 levels, the 3 general levels we just described now. Chassidim is Amshachas Ha'or, that's Al Derech Torah. And Anshei Maaseh, that's the Kohen Gadol, making Kelim, entering, Melamata Lamayla, Avidas HaBerurim. And as explained, that Rashi says in the word Chassid, Kol Chassid Avi Chassid Mikor. If you say Chassid, you mean someone who's being consistently pious. So this goes on again, Amshacha Milamayla, that's pure, and that's Torah. And that's a level of Yikara, and that's even dearer than Pninim, which is the Avodah of the Kohen Gadol, which is Malamata Lamayla, which is Anshei Maaseh. So Chassidim is a higher darga in Giluyim, is a higher darga than Anshei Maaseh. Chassidim is the Avodah of Torah, Anshei Maaseh, Avidas HaBerurim, as expressed in its ultimate expression in the Kohen Gadol. Clear? Yeah, don't try and read because it's not a good idea when you're trying to summarize it. Not a good idea to read. You can't do 2 things at once. Most men can't. That's for sure. Are we clear on these 3 levels? Because there's a lot of subdivisions here. It's easy to get totally lost because the language sometimes crosses over and it means something here and something else here. So ask.
Making the kelim, that's like, to me seems like
Speak up a little bit.
Making the kelim, which is Anshe Maaseh, to me it seems like avodah malamat, or just preparation. It's the mat.
No, well, you're elevating, refining the world to get higher and higher and closer to the Eibishter.
Because it starts here.
It starts in which direction you're going. You're going upwards. You're connecting. You're refining. You're turning something which is chayil into kedusha. There's a transformation. L'mata l'mayla.
There's a preparation. L'mata is a preparation for l'mata.
They're not disconnected. True, yeah, but they're two separate avodas. There's avodah of Torah and avodah of mitzvahs. Not necessarily a preparation for the other. Both are necessary. There is the inyan that through sarusa de latata that you are mamshech sarusa de la'ela, but that's all. At the end of the day, the sarusa de latata. So it's still part of. It's all still considered. Even the level that you elicit, that you are mamshech, that's still called milamata l'mayla because you have earned it. So you are eliciting a divine response, but still called milamata l'mayla. What's the avodah here? Avodah here is milamata l'mayla. Whereas Torah, it's God's words coming to us. We're learning it, but what we're dealing with is His gift to us. That's Torah. So that's the Chasidim versus Anshi Maaseh. And he added a diuk that they're throwing their torches of fire. Mistama, Begashmias. The emphasis would be throwing it up or it's coming down. And I'm sure when they're juggling, there was a difference. That the juggling of the Chassidim was more, you could see Amshachim L'mayla L'mata. It's probably, as he says here, I'm just guessing, this is Yesh Leimer, that the Chassidim's juggling was that they caught it very low. That's the diuk, that Torah, even no matter how far down it goes, it remains elikus. So they're catching it low. The emphasis of the juggling of the Anshe Maaseh would be thrusting it very high. Lefnai, lefnim. Yesh Leimer. It's adding some visuals to this, based on what we just learned. Because the emphasis, the zrika, is betoikev. But higher than both is the avodah of tshuva, yiras haboishes. Tshuva is oisius boishes. And that's the darg of keser, not the noiris hilos again. Now, why was it important to even bring that? I don't know. But at any rate, that's the third avodah. Now, the subdivisions within all of them, that's the three general avodas. So, now the second paragraph of Beis Dalet. Oh, David Lizon, even in Kapel. Good. So now we can explain the reason the mission only mentions Chassidim and Anshi Maaseh, which is Torah, basically Torah and Avidas HaBerurim, mitzvahs. But the Mishnah doesn't mention, like it's not in its world. The Avodah of Tshuva is not in the world of the Mishnah. Where is the Avodah of Tshuva in the world of the Braisa? Because the game plan is we don't need tshuva. We shouldn't have to do tshuva. It's like the pashtus tshuva is just you mess up. Okay, there is a solution. It's certainly not part of the plan overtly, and therefore the kolas avoid is Torah mitzvahs. In brackets avoid mitzad haguf Anshe Maaseh, elevate the body. That's Anshe Maaseh. Avoid mitzad neshama, and then the neshama learning chasidim shem beis asugim doiv Hashem begufam. V'oivd Hashem b'nishmas, and based on the pasuk in Keheles, those who serve God with the body and serve God with the soul. And that is k'fishetzichim li sapi seder mesuda the adam yasher heilich. I'm sorry, that's the pasuk. That's the pasuk. That lashon is from Asam Vov. Okay, not based on any pasuk. So that's the avodah of adam yasher heilich. A person goes straight. Here's the instruction manual, follow it, and in theory, don't veer, and all be well in the world. So that's the Seder V'zeh, Seder Shabbat Shnitzka b'Mishnah. That's the Mishnah. What's the Mishnah? Shnisadr al Yedei Rabbeinu HaKadosh, who arranged it, the Rabbi Danos, Rabbi Nakodesh, and therefore watches he's still following on the heels of Zman Habayis, when there's Gilui Likus in the world, and the world is conducive to this avodah of Torah mitzvahs. K'mayim Barazal, this is a pasuk here with Megeh Rus, that Boaz gave her food to eat, Batoisar, and also for the remainder. So the Gemara brings the Gemara brings various perushim to the remez here, which the different epochs that are being sustained here. Zman David and Zman Shloime, and Vatoisar is Rabbi. So the fact that the leftover is linked with David and Shloime indicates that it's connected to that era, and even though he lived after the Churban, actually straddled the Churban pretty much, the Mishnayos, because there's Mishnayos to deal with, of course, with most of it, with the Beis HaMikdash, and there were Tanoim quoted there that were in the Beis HaMikdash. So the Mishnah altogether is an elevated time connected to the Beis HaMikdash, and therefore doesn't speak of tshuva. What tshuva? Torah mitzvahs. On the Braisa, but then comes the Braisa, Shumiloshin bar v'chutz. Braisa means outside, was left outside the body. What's that? The Latin word corpus of the Mishnah. So it's outside. Give mishsad hayitziyah l'chutz. If a person strays outside the realm of kedusha, which is the world of the Mishnah, yachaliyas ma'im dematzev dechota or pogam b'avras haderech. That could be there. Outside, he sins and blemishes and transgresses or leaves the path. Lachein the toisev gam masuk the bali tshuva. Therefore, the Braisa adds also bali tshuva. Now, at the pshat level, it's like, listen, this is the reality. There's now sin in the world. Or in our world. It's become commonplace. So we have to there's a fallback. And the fallback is tshuva. That's in Pashtus. The Braisa is a lower level than the Mishnah. It's a lower level, which is why it's not included. That's why the Mishnah is much briefer. Because it's more chokhmah, and the Braisa is al derech, already bin, it's already amshach, it's already elaboration. But everything is in the Mishnah. It's a higher madrege. So the Braisa deals with nebach, okay, this is the reality, so we got to fix it, so there's tshuva. So the Rebbe says, no, that the level of bali tshuva loy rak sug noisef bifnei atzmoin. Not only is it another category, elagam, a necessary one, elagam darge nailis yois, it's actually loftier. Then the Chasidim Danshi Maaseh. Loftier, yeah, shegam etzlam tzarich leisav tshuva. Even the Chassid and the Anshi Maaseh have to do tshuva. Why so? First of all, nobody's perfect. It's a pasuk. Ein tzadik ba'aretz. There's no righteous person on the world, on the face of the earth. That does only good and doesn't sin. Now here, yechta doesn't mean transgression, but yechta means miss the mark. At least in the sense of chet, as in missing, as something lacking. So that's why it brings the marshal of shooting an arrow and getting it to the hair on the target, not missing it. So chet can also mean you're there, just missing a little bit. So it doesn't mean necessarily a transgression. So in addition to that, to the fact, therefore, everybody can always do more. Therefore, even the Chasidim Anshe might have to do tshuva. He can add the true union of tshuva. B'chalal is in al chet. It's not an averis. Even as we explained, chet in this very sublime level of just lacking perfection, but not fundamentally wrong. Tshuva is not even for that. In the shleimus of tshuva. Ella Tshuva means to return to the source. And that is endless. And the spirit talks about death. The body returns to the earth, and the spirit returns to God who granted it. So since Tshuva is returning ever higher, there's no limit. This level of Tshuva, he says, which is the shleimus of Tshuva, is shaykh to, and must be by tzaddikim too. Like it says in Zohar about Mashiach, he will teach the tzaddikim to do Tshuva. And the matter is as follows. Now that we're explaining Tshuva not as a chsaron. It's outside because it really doesn't belong, but what can we do? You did this hadayris, Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, there's sin. No, he's explaining now, it's a high madrege. So what's the, summarizing it? It follows the other madreges. It's once reached, he's pious and Anshi and he's out there and he's engaging the world. So then he's told, you think you're over, that's when erst, on this level, he ascends to be before him such that should be felt by the tzaddikim, the ultimate bittul of the awe of shame, as it were. This is a virtuous shame. Like keser, the ukamhu, it is dark, in this absolute bittul. So Adarab, the avodah of tshuva here and the brayse comes for the tzaddikim dafke after the avodah of chasidim and anshi Maaseh. And the paradox is, and for the rest of us who are not chasidim and anshi Maaseh, there is tshuva. Also, and in a moment, b'shayta chodah, b'digah chodah, as we learned in the previous maamar, Rabbi about the an extreme example of that. One can achieve all of these levels and beyond. It's accessible to everyone, and it's the ultimate. U'ka'omur. And it's mentioned before when he said lifneihem, shekol ze nimshech misimchas beis, and according from the Frierdiker Rebbe's maamar, that all of this is drawn from simchas beis sheva ba'avodah l'chol hashana, for the avodah of the whole year, l'chol b'nei Yisrael b'chol prati, and yonei avodah to every year, and all the details of avodah. Meaning, what are the details? Whether the avodah is b'derech hamshochem l'mayda l'mata, that's in Torah, so that should be, like we learned all the details, b'toikef, b'zrika, powerfully coming down, bringing it down. Bringing down the Torah, Pasha bringing it every year, that the McGill student understand the deepest in Yoram of Chassidus. That's our shlichus. Ve'im b'derech halom l'mata l'mayla, an ascent to the highest heights. It's a Kohen Gadol entering in Kodesh HaKadoshim. All of this is bequeathed to us and granted to us, and we get the koyach from it, from the simcha and the rikudim and the shiras and the sisbachos of simchas beis she'eva, in the presence of all of us, and lifneim in our pnimius, as he said before. V'yad la'shleimus in the third dargya, in general, shenasis b'chol inyon avodah anal yadei tshuva, all of the above avodas are permeated with tshuva, with a great sense of poshet humility and gratitude and yiras haboishes. Shazen nema Mashiach osen, that's the tachlis, the Mashiach will come, b'asavat tzadikai b'tshuvta, to bring the tzadikim to do tshuva. Kain Tielonu, so should be for us, but Bias Mashiach Tzidkeinu B'Kariv Mamish. Okay, so I'll read to you the summary. I think we get the general idea, yes? The pratim, if we go through all the pratim, so again, the Chazara will take a long time, so I'll just read to you how they summarize it, and that is as follows, okay? You don't have the text, I'm just going to read it to you. What? Question?
You said before that there's no room for the
there was an exception, like they were under the exception.
I was saying the whole thing is for the
yes, and Hanami, so what you're hinting to is that the Tachlis Avodah wasn't on Beis HaMikdash. There has to be a Churban, there has to be Yerida, there has to be Tshuva, and Hanami. It wasn't destined to remain that way because it's not the Tachlis HaKavan. Huh?
And we can have the simcha without the actual Beis Hamikdash, or meaning.
This is all dafke b'simcha. What's the simcha? The simcha is knowing that this is your kavana, and through it's all in order for my teshuvah, for our relationship to deepen. So even in Zman HaGolos, it's b'simcha. Mishenichnas of memayetin b'simcha. So Chassidus teaches mishenichnas, which is a churban. Memayetin. So how do we get over the simcha, the churban? How do we lessen the churban? Memayetin. How do we lessen the experience? It's dafke b'simcha. In Zman HaGolos. It's your world, your kavana. We're here to serve. In the end, you want it this way. Like Leonard Cohen said, you want it darker. I don't know if you know what it. Towards the end of his life, he composed these very profound songs. So one of them is, there's a line there, I didn't know that you wanted it darker. Or something like that. But you wanted it darker is definitely a line there. Yeah, he learned this a little bit. Okay, so here is, this is, as we say, Ilinish Maaseh. He deserves it, he tried hard. He meant well. Just the fact that the name Cohen is on the lips of like millions. It's already a Kiddush Hashem. Leonard Cohen can't hide the fact that he's Jewish. They're inspired by him. Who by fire is he brought Yom Kippur to the masses. Okay, so the summary of the Maimon, the difference between Kibbud and Yira. Kibbud is covered, that's Torah. That's Amshacham L'mayla Lamata. That's why father precedes mother when it comes to covered. Because all Hamshacha L'mayla Lamata is from the source, the father, Elikus Mamash. Yira, as explained, that's Torah Shebal Peh, as he says later, learning with great awe. So that's Avodah L'mata L'mayla. So there, mother precedes father, because first is the Yira Chitzonius, that's the Mitzad Bina, and then the Yira Pnimius, Chachma. So there's Av within the Avodah of Melamata L'mayla as well. That's what's confusing. There's the Av B'Tarasa, and then there's the Av through Avodah. In other words, there's Chachma granted and there's Chachma achieved through Bittul. Still, that's all limited to the achievement, and that's Lefanai Lifnim. Okay? That's kind of a summary, really, right there of everything. And then the third darg, the third Inyan, which is higher even than covered in Torah. Tshuva is higher than Torah. Torah has no answer for the sinner, really. Certain sins you can bring karbonos, other ones, death, it's over, goodbye. But Tshuva is higher than Torah, yeah. So that's the third Inyan. That's the avoid of Tshuva is this Yiras Boishas, is this shameful awe. This is the expression of Keser. Since Keser is before the Eibishter Mamish, so the level of Yira there is Tachlis Abitul, Mischashich Ukame Ilis Ha'ilis, is dark, silent, totally silent before the cause of all causes. And this is the corresponding levels that our Mishnah and Braisa speaks of. Chasidim, that's some bringing down the earth, as Rashi says, Kol Chasid Avi Chasid Mikara. Chasid means pious throughout, and Mikara, the Maim explains, means he draws from the Iker, from the roots, from the Shodesh, L'mayla L'mata, that's Torah. Anshi Maaseh is the Avodah of what? Making Kelim L'mata L'mayla. And then Bali Tshuva is Yiras HaBoishas, and therefore the Mishnah mentions only Chasidim Anshi Maaseh, because the Mishnah gives the basic theoretical mandate, don't sin, do the right thing. And that's the general Avodah. But the Braisa, which is Chutz, outside Yerida and Churban, post Beis HaMikdash, mentions Bali Tshuva, and the Rebbe adds, it's not just, well, we have to do Tshuva, because what else are we going to do? It's also the highest Avodah that the Chasidim and Anshei Maaseh also need to learn. V'adarabah. That's Mashiach's great achievement, is to teach the Chasidim and Anshei Maaseh to do Tshuva, because through Tshuva, through true tshuva is not merely fixing aved, it's not even chatoim, but the endless ascent in the relationship, in the connection with Hashem. And where is that achieved? Dafke Braise, Meloshen Bar V'chutz. That's a general overview. All right, so the next Maamar, Be'ez Hashem, will start tomorrow, the Maamar of Chol HaMoed Sukkos.